I always start the episodes by saying boom. Boom something. I'll let one person make a video idea if they can take every time I say boom and then turn it into Sleepover Forever. The song. It's like do 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 do. Hello everyone, my name's Stonesy Boy and welcome back to Reading with Stonesy. Today we are on pages 62 to 80. We are on Five Nights at Freddy's Tales from the Pizza Pack number 2, Happs. Today we're reading 18 pages and it's going to be the ending of this story. Ending? Oh no, last time was the end of the story. I'm sorry. Last time was the end of the story with Steve falling in love. And today is the beginning of the new story. So, yeah. It's this episode today. The next episode, which is 80 to 100. 81. Then it's 101 to 120. So we have this episode, 2 normal episodes, and then 1 weird episode. And then, yeah, so this will be done in like 4 episodes. So this is about 80 pages worth of a chapter. And it's based off the actual book name, Happs, that weird little robot. So, without further ado, let's begin. Hold on. Happs. Aiden flung open the door in front of him and stomped out into the chaos that was the main concourse through the Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex. The door hit the wall, with a bang loud enough to get the attention of the group of giggling girls passing in the exit area at the laser tag arena. Aiden recognized the girls immediately. They were seniors at a school. The door rebounded and hit Aiden from behind. The girls laughed at him. One of the girls, a cute redhead, Nora, raised her brows and pointed when she saw Aiden's swollen left eye. Nice shiner, Aiden. She put emphasis on the second syllable in the name and changed the E to an O, pronouncing the name Adon instead of the way it's supposed to be pronounced. The more inflection of the AI and the E sound instead of an O is the second syllable. The mangling Aiden's name was pretty universal at this school. It started with Aiden, new at the school with a wild idea that tried out to be a talent competition. Unnaturally tall and skinny for his 15 years, Aiden was burdened with a wild bushy hair, a beak nose, and a chin, and lopsided eyes. He knew he was nothing to look at, so he tried to make up for it with unusual abilities and knowledge. Aiden was an accomplished juggler. He tried mad skills with a hula hoop and jump rope, and could do things with a yo-yo that no one else thought of. He convinced himself that would be a good way to meet people and fit in, and he put together a routine show, chasing these gifts and presented them in the new school's talent show. His plan, unfortunately, had backfired in front of dozens of kids hanging out in front of the auditions. Aiden was called onto the stage by clueless Miss Marchand in the head of the theater department. Adon, she had warbled when he came on stage with his jump rope, hula hoop, juggling, spins, and yo-yo. Everyone probably would have forgotten the incident if he hadn't properly bungled his routine. Aiden had an arsenal of tricks, but they all failed him that day. Self-conscious, he had ended up getting so entangled with his rope and yo-yo, he'd fallen down and then managed to trip off the stage. Story of his life. Ignore them, Aiden's one and only friend Jace said now. The black guy makes you look tough. Aiden snorted. He kicked one of the neon squares on the floor in the walkway through the pizzaplex. Yeah, right. Wait until Landon sees everyone and tells how I got it, jackass. The laser tag is supposed to be about shooting laser guns, not hand-to-hand combat. He threw the elbow on purpose. Jace sighed and pulled Aiden oblivious to the surroundings of the path of the group of kids chasing one another through the pizzaplex. Yeah, he probably did. Newsflash. He's a jerk. Aiden, streaming, stalked away in the laser tag arena, bumping into people right and left. He already heard or saw anything around him. He was vaguely aware of the Jace trotting after him, and the bright lights and cheerful sounds of Mega Pizzaplex were muted by the buzz of Aiden's rage. He was so tired of being treated like he was a ball trapped inside a pinball machine. Keep being slapped this way and that made his classmates and his parents. He tried to be a pawn. He wanted some control. Aiden, Jace tugged at his shirt sleeve. When Aiden ignored him, he tried harder. Hey, Aiden! Aiden stopped and whirled at his friend. What? Jace's face tightened. He hunched his shoulders. Already, a small for a 9th grader. Jace was probably curled into a ball when he felt rejected or criticized. Unlike Aiden, Jace wasn't bad looking. He had a normal face and perfectly normal black hair. But he was too cute, as in a little kid cute. He was too small and too fragile. He had an unfortunate little boy voice to go with his looks. His him out of the same no man's land and unpopularity that Aiden had lived ever since he was 5 years old. The day before his first day at kindergarten, Aiden had overheard his mom telling a friend that he wished his sweet personality would overcome his unfortunate homeliness. Her hopes had been, well, hopeless. Aiden immediately felt bad and he looked at Jace's crushed expression. Jace was the only person who treated Aiden with mattered. Sorry, Jace. I'm just pissed is all, Jace nodded. I get it. I'm sorry Landon elbowed you. I should have found a way to have your back, but he kind of outweighs me. Plus, besides the laser gun, all I have is this. Jace pulled out a Swiss Army knife his mom had given him for his birthday. He was ridiculously happy with the gift. It was a tiny knife and its itsy bitsy scissors and corkscrew and a file and a screwdriver could transform little Jace into an invincible warrior. Aiden punched Jace's shoulder lightly. Well, next time, pull that thing out and run it through him through. Jace laughed. He would pretend to wield a knife like a sword. A little girl in braided pigtails bounced off Aiden's legs, and he felt something wet and sticky on his skin. He looked down and see the little girl's huge smiley face sucker finished wiping his forearm. Ew, Aiden yanked his arm back and glared at the little girl, who didn't even notice him. Jace plucked at Aiden's sleeve again. This time Aiden didn't snap. He let Jace pull him out of the flow of the crowd. Back against the bright striped wall against the neon-lit entrance of the bumper car arena, Aiden glowered at Freddy-themed cars. Normally he liked bumper cars, but the great way to let off steam. Today, though, somehow the shiny little shoe-shaped pods painted to look like Freddy's animatronic characters were just too perky. What do you want to do now? Jace asked. Aiden pulled his gaze from the chaos and zigzagging, careening bumper cars, listening to cars buzzing and the kids whooping. He shrugged. So far today, he and Jace had played their favorite arcade games, spent some time in the VR booth, ridden in the roller coaster, and stuffed themselves with pizza. None of that had done it for Aiden. He wasn't in the mood to have fun today. He'd been ready to give up and go home and watch TV, and then Jace had suggested laser tag. Aiden had agreed when he'd been landed and his friend going to the arena. Aiden hated London, and the way of shooting a smug smirk of the laser gun had sounded like a good idea. Aiden gingerly touched his still swelling eye. He grimaced so much that it was a good idea. Why don't we go tubing? Jace asked. Remember how much fun it was last time when we were scared those little kids? Despite his mood, Aiden smiled. Yeah, that was pretty cool. Tubing was Jason and Aiden's favorite word for clambering through Freddy's fortress, a massive maze by climbing and sliding plastic pipes that entwined with Fast Freddy and Pizzaplex's super fast roller coaster, embraced the entire circumference of the center. They had only recently checked out the maze because it was advertised more toward younger kids and toward teens. They had originally gone poking around the maze when they had been avoiding some bullies who had been hassling them in the arcade. At least you could get hurt at the tubes, Jay said, panting. Happs won't let that happen. He laughed his girlish twitter. Aiden grinned. Good old Happs. Happs, Aiden and Jason discovered when they first explored the maze, was a maintenance and safety bot designed for to prevent injuries in the maze. Happs, HAPPS, stood for Helpful Automated Pipe Protection Server. It was a robot that roamed the tubes or pipes, checking to be sure everything was in good order and helping out kids who had fallen into their loss. Aiden and Jace had got a big kick out of Happs. They thought the robot's huge lit-up smile and large foam hands were hilarious. When they first encountered him, they wanted to adopt him. Wouldn't it be great if we had Happs to clear the way for us at school? Jason asked if they left the maze after the first time they explored it. Aiden was warned of the idea. Yeah, Happs could just toss aside all the jerks. Jason laughed. And do our homework for us. And clean our rooms. And he could do all of our chores. Aiden chuckled. That would be cool. And lock my dad out of the house when he gets in his bad moods, Jace said. The last thought had sobered him. Aiden's parents didn't approve of him. They tended to ignore him. But Jace's dad was mean. There was nothing funny about that. Now Aiden slung an arm around his friend's shoulders. Yeah, let's go tubing. Jace grinned, and the two boys stepped into the flow of the crowd, rushing to one part of the Pizzaplex to the other. As soon as they did, Aiden felt the pulsing heat, and his temples began to abdate. They mentally took off the image of London's perpetual, I'm better than you smirk. The entrance to Freddy Fortress was the opposite side of the Pizzaplex of the bumper cars. It would take several minutes to just go in there to Jace's pace. His small legs could stride as fast as Aiden could. When Aiden and Jace had come to the Pizzaplex the first time, the place had been overwhelming. It was huge. Unfortunately, though, the layout was pretty simple. The Pizzaplex was shaped like a pizza, under a massive neon-lit dome topped with a black-lit pizza-themed stained glass cupola. Beside the round configuration, Jace had told Aiden that he thought the Pizzaplex was sort of a giant clock of fun, because Freddy's Pizzeria was an inspiration for everything in the Pizzaplex. Jace suggested that the big dining area where the pizza was served at noon on the clock. Every other main part of the Pizzaplex was another hour of the clock face. Laser tag was 4 o'clock. The entrance to Freddy Fortresses was between the Carnival Games area and 2 o'clock position, and the arcade at the 3 o'clock position. Fortunately, when Aiden charged out of the laser tag arena, he headed left instead of right. so they ended up in front of the bumper cars, which was 7 o'clock on Jace's imaginary Pizzaplex clock face. It didn't make very long past the role play area, something Aiden and Jace hadn't tried yet, and the employees only section of the Pizzaplex, the behind the scenes janitorial, storage, maintenance, kitchen, and security areas. After that, they strode past the shopping area, and then on the back dining area was enticing aroma of pepperoni and onions. Even though Aiden and Jace had filled up on pizza already, the food still smelled good. As they moved through the crowd, go-karts shot past on the track and ran parallel over the walkways and sometimes dipped under pedestrian bridges. The Doppler hum of the car's electric motors like a bass line of the crowd noise. Just beyond the dining room, a carousel spun in a kaleidoscopic color and tingling musical sound as they passed it. And after that, a carnival games area bulged with chaotic crowds of laughing people, shouting encouragement as they tried to win plush Freddy's character prizes. Finally, Aiden and Jace made it to the entrance of Freddy's Fortress. As they got in line behind two dark-haired little girls who were dancing happily to the music blasting through Pizzaplex's sound system. With a neon arch like the other Pizzaplex venue openings, the entrance to Freddy Fortress was long, narrow, and disorienting. Painted in black and white, Paranwell illusion pattern, and the entrance made you feel like you were stepping into infinity. You felt like you were leaving the real world behind, being lured into a topsy-turvy realm that would trap you forever. Aiden and Jace thought it was super cool. Maybe he would just paint the inside of our fort like this when we build it this summer, Jace said now. Aiden thought about it. I think we could pull it off. I don't know how to paint illusions. I don't know either, Jace said. But we should figure it out, right? We're in our own universe, aren't we? We can make whatever we want. Aiden grinned at his friend. He gave Jace a high five. Jace returned it. Jace and Aiden had been friends for only a few months since Aiden's dad had been transferred to the town and Aiden started a new school in the middle of the term. Aiden hated starting schools in the midterm. Why didn't his dad stick to one job in one town? Even though Aiden had known Jace long, he was a lot closer to Jace than he ever got with his friends in previous towns. Aiden had one friend at a time guy. Not by choice. It just seemed to work out that way. Jace had been the only kid who had decided that Aiden's jump roping, hula hooping, juggling, yo-yoing fiasco left him unqualified for friendship. Jace had come to sit with Aiden at lunch the day Aiden had spectacularly made a fool of himself. Come to laugh at the new class clown, Aiden had asked Jace when he sat down and opened his brown bag. Nope, came to meet the bravest guy in the school, Jace said, pulling out an array of plastic containers and Aiden would later find out contained the sun-dried tomato and crab salad sandwich on sourdough bread, wild greens and raspberry vinaigrette, and kiwi fruit tart. Jace had been sophisticated food taste. Only food he and Aiden agreed on was pizza. Jace always wanted his weird toppings like artichoke hearts and goat cheese and caramelized onions, but they always got a half and half pizza. Aiden was a plain pepperoni guy. After Jason pulled out his fancy lunch, he grinned as they offered a hand. It took guts to do what you did, Aiden started Jace's selfish face. You're not messing with me, are you? Jace shook his head. I don't know how to mess with people. I'm just, well, me, I guess. That's not too many people to appreciate that, but it is what it is. I'm my own universe. Aiden laughed. He liked that. Well, do you have a room for that universe for a +1? He asked. Jason nodded. The two had shaken hands, and that was that. They'd been friends ever since. And they'd met after a bonding moment that Aiden and Jace had never had a lot in common. Jason didn't care that Aiden and Jace liked a slob in baggy jeans and faded t-shirts and dirty, scuffed boots. And Aiden didn't care that Jace dressed like a little adult in pressed khaki slacks, button-down shirts, and old-fashioned sneakers. It didn't matter that Jace was more interested in art and music than academics, and that Aiden loved learning things that got straight A's, something that contributed to a classmate's disdain, and was wrong with being smart. And it wasn't a problem with Jace, who was obsessed with reading novels and collecting old clocks, and Aiden was obsessed with ropes and pins and hoops and yo-yos. They'd always found plenty to talk about because Aiden liked to hear about what Jace was doing, and Jace liked to hear about what Aiden was doing. They did have some common ground. They both liked to watch old movies and shows on TV, and they both liked to play games, and they both loved Freddy's since they'd been thrilled when Freddy Fazbear's Mega Pizzaplex had opened up. Fortunately, only a few kids were lined up to get into Freddy's Fortress. Aiden and Jace waited just a couple minutes before they were crawling into the first shiny red tube that led into the heart of the maze. Although the tubes that made up the climbing maze might have been designed for smaller kids, they were large enough for adults to crawl through, about 4 feet in diameter. The rounded tunnels had plenty of space for even Aiden's tall, gangly frame. Aiden and Jace crawled quickly when they entered the maze, and it didn't take much time for them to reach the end of the first tube, which was only about 20 feet long. And the end of the 20 feet, the maze branched out in several directions. Some of the offshoots had ladders attached to the tubing. Aiden had thought of these as ladder pipes. They angled up in one level and another like stairs. Some of the tunnels had even sharper angles of descent. They were strutted in big hand and footholds like kind of climbing walls. Aiden thought of these as climbing pipes. Some tubes climbed more gradually than either of the ladder pipes and climbing pipes, so neither ladder rung nor hand nor footholds were needed. Some of the tubes were level, leading to far-off areas of the maze were heading upward, and some of the tubes were slides. Aiden and Jace liked those the best. Listening to Jace puff along behind him, Aiden pointed at one tunnels. "Let's go this way," he said. He waded just deep into the labyrinth of the fortress, as far away from life as possible. "I'm right behind you," Jace said unnecessarily. Aiden led the way into what he thought the bright orange tunnel. Although the tunnels were formed of transparent plastic that allowed him to see through them. The plastic was tinted in a variety of bright colors, some solid colored and some multicolored, and mind-blowing patterns, like stripes and polka dots and illusions similar to pinwheel shapes in the entrance. A few tunnels were just plain clear plastic. They were black, so they were really opaque. But at first, Aiden and Jace had hypnotized with the colors and the patterns were designed to help navigate the maze. But after exploring the fortress for hours, they hadn't discerned any logical order to the colors. The various shades seemed to be random twists and turns, rises and drops in the fortress. In addition to the many hued passageways in the maze, the fortress contained intriguing, ever-shifting mirrored partitions. Partitions seemed to show up suddenly and randomly. The tunnel could be wide open 1 minute, and a couple minutes later it's blocked with one of the mirrors. These mirrors fascinated Ada and Jace. The first time they encountered one blocking a section that had been opened they passed it moments before, they started to figure out the timing and the location of the mirrors. They assumed the mirrors showed up to further confuse an already bewildering layout of the maze. They definitely had that effect. On one afternoon the previous week, it had taken Ada and Jace over an hour to find their way around one just suddenly appearing mirror so they could make their way back out of the maze. Now Aiden led Jace past one of the mirrors. He caused a junction of other tunnel leading to the left and climbing pipe running up to the right. "Which way?" he asked Jace. "Your turn to choose." Jace wriggled up to the next to Aiden and assessed options. He looked to both sides and straight ahead. Because of the pipes in the fortress were transparent, they could see into other pipes, and around them to their left was a couple of little girls who were crawling around and Ben leading away from where Aiden and Jace crouched. To the right, a couple of tubes over, a tousle-headed toddler who was cowed along the clearly exasperated older girl, who was already the little kid's sister. The Jace pointed at ladder tube. "Let's go up. Maybe we'll find the long, twisty slides like those." Jaden grinned. He liked the twisty slides too. They started at the top of the 3-story high fortress, and they ended up at the venue level of the Pizzaplex because they wound around in a tight spiral. The ride down was long and fun. Fortunately, though, to get to the top of the slide, you had to figure out the way to correct climbing pipes to get to the top of the fortress. Aiden and Jace had only found the top of the curly slide 3 times. Maybe they'd get lucky today. "You lead," Aiden told Jace. Jace nodded and reached for the closet bright purple handhold and blue and pink swirl pattern climbing pipe walls. Aiden waited for Jason to work his way up the tube a few feet before Aiden started following his friend. He took a deep breath, inhaling a familiar smell of the maze. The pipes of the fortress had sort of a chemical odor. Jaden figured it was plastic. In addition to the sharp smell, the pipes smelled like sweat and dirty socks. Later, those smells of scent and disinfectant spray and Happs applied deliberately as he made his way to the maze. Skirting around a wad of chewing gum, Aiden thought about Happs. He and Jason discussed the robot a lot, and they concluded that Happs was a programming marvel. Not only was Happs designed to get kids out of trouble in the maze, there was a janitorial maintenance bot. His technology apparently was cutting edge. Aiden had read up that after they encountered him for the first time in the maze. According to the articles Aiden had found, Freddy's Fortress has been subject to heated debate and it first proposed. Smaller versions of the climbing and sliding tubes have been tried by other famous kid-focused pizza places, and they'd been a big disaster. The problem wasn't just safety. Yes, little kids sometimes got stuck or hurt themselves when they fell. Once, Aiden read, a fire and rescue team had to be called to excavate a teen who had been a little too big and round a corner in one of the pipes. Stuck kids, however, weren't a real issue in the climbing pipes. The real drawback on the installations was sanitation. When they first built, the other pizza places' employees were sent to the pipes several times a day to try to keep them clean. This job, however, was too big and too unpleasant for a minimum wage employee to do well. Hygiene became a big concern. Many parents refused to let their kids go into the tubes, something that led to frequent noisy public tantrums. Some of the restaurant managers had the climbing pipes removed. The pipe makers were clearly phased out in other restaurant chains, but eventually larger pipes were built to prevent stuck teens and better cleaning procedures when they were put into place. Proponents of Freddy's Fortress had pointed to the relative success of the other chains' newest pipe mazes to argue for the inclusion of the Fortress in Pizzaplex. Opponents for Freddy's Fortress had argued that the massive size of the fortress made it multiply safety and cleaning issues exponentially. The idea was nearly scrapped until the tech genius at Freddy Fazbear Entertainment came up with Happs. They programmed Happs to be efficient and autonomous with no human employee ever had to go into the fortress. Happs created an entire network of pipes, clean and hygienic and good repair, and he made sure no big jerks got stuck. At the top of the climb, Jace caused to catch his breath. As Jace wiped his face, Aiden waited patiently. The climbing holds of the tube were placed close tough, or even the smallest kids could use them, and the angles of ascent in the tubes were extreme. It wasn't hard to work their way through the fortress. Jace, however, wasn't in best shape. given that his only physical activities were picking up a book or tinkering with the clocks that he liked to collect. He got out of the breath pretty easily. "He's got 4 choices here," Jace said finally. "I don't see any sign of a slide." Aiden glanced down the lateral tunnels extending out from the current location. "Nope, no slides." To the left, though, down one of the single tunnels, Aiden could see 3 little kids. Aiden pointed, "Let's go see if we can scare some munchkins." Jake laughed. "Good idea." He crawled into the tunnel and Aiden had indicated. Aiden followed. The new tunnel twisted sharply 3 times before winding down to the pipe, intersected with the one the little kids were in. Jace paused at the entrance to the intersecting pipe. Assuming a soldier-like demeanor, Jace made a series of convoluted hand motions that designed to mimic those he and Aiden had been seen in action movies. First, Jace pointed at his eyes, then Aiden's eyes, then at the little kids, who were crawling happily, completely oblivious to the watchers. Jason made a circular gesture in the intersection pipe. He made a sort of crawling motion with his fingers. He used the other hand to make a larger crawling motion before dropping in a second hand into his first hand. Apparently, it indicated a surprise ambush. Aiden laughed. Jason immediately put a finger to his lips and gave Aiden a mock stern look. Aiden stifled his laugh and pretended to zip his lips. Of course, all his pandemonium was ridiculously unnecessary. Even if they'd laughed uproariously and even yelled their tongue out, the little kids would have barely heard them. The pipes in Freddy's fortress were surprisingly well sound insulated. Aiden had read up on that too. Apparently, the plastic used to form all these pipes in the maze was an ordinary plastic, some kind of special polymer. And this is included to the mix of the soundproof, the tubes. They weren't completely soundproof, obviously, but they muted sound enough for between the plastic and the loud music, and the crowd noise-filling pizzaplex sound didn't carry far in the noise. Jace made with the "with me" motion and crawled into the intersected pipe. Aiden followed. They crawled about 30 feet before Jace came to a stop and held up his fist. Aiden grinned and immediately stopped too. Jace pointed at his right hand. They were close enough to the little kids now that they could hear him. The 3 of them, 2 boys and 1 girl. The girl seemed to be the one in charge of the little group, and she sounded real bossy. "We need to go up here first, Bobby. This is the right way." She sounded like a mom-like tone. "But I don't want to go down the slide," Bobby whined. "Yeah, me too," the second boy said. "You're both stupid," the bossy girl said. Jace looked over his shoulder at Aiden. He mimed sticking a finger down his throat. And Aiden understood. Jace was a bossy older sister. She probably emphasized with Bobby and the other boy. Jace held up a finger, and then 2 fingers, and then positioned himself to follow Jace's lead. Jace held up a 3rd finger, then he pointed. Jace and Aiden let out blood-curdling screams and crawled furiously around the bend. They crowded next to each other, the faces contorted into monster-like expressions. They reached out to grab the little kids. All 3 kids, who looked like maybe 5 or 6, screamed. One of the boys, a small kid with straggly brown hair, screamed louder than the others. The other boy, round-faced and dark-skinned, didn't just scream, he just scurried away. The little girl, cute blonde with the bright blue eyes, stopped screaming almost quickly as he started. He instantly figured out Aiden and Jace were messing with her and her friends. She had startled into screaming. She was scared of them. Sitting back on her heels, the girl put her hands on her hips, wearing red pants, a black shirt, and a red and black striped headband. The little girl looked like a paint-sized fierce warrior. All she needed was face paint to complete her look. The girl glared at Aiden and Jace. "You're mean," she said. Aiden lunged forward and roared at her. It was a good roar, but when it didn't bother the girl at all, instead of reacting to Aiden, she elbowed the boy next to her. She was still screaming, "Shut up, Bobby. It's just a couple big stupid boys being jerks." Bobby, who was screaming up to his eyes, his face bright red, opened his eyes. He stopped screaming. The girl turned and looked at the retreating boy. "Get back here, Arlo. Stop being a scaredy cat." Aiden looked at the Jace, who was staring at the girl with a wide-eyed frown. He looked down and he couldn't decide whether to be surprised at the girl's nonchalance or annoyed by it. The girl turned back around at Aiden and Jace. "You're stupid," she announced. Stupid seemed to be her favorite word. Huh. Stupidity, stupidity, stupid and I. Who can be stupid besides me and I? I believe that's our last page today. Yep, that is. And with that, that would be the, I believe, end. How sad. But, you know, it's okay. So, I hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. But before we go, I have to put down that we're reading pages 681, I'm sorry. Pages 81 to 100, which is the first movement, with the next episode being the second and final movement, until we read pages that are 1,000 pages long, in which case, oof. But yeah, that'll be the next episode, where it's gonna be harder by 1 page. So yeah, hope you guys have a super fantastic, wonderful day. Be like, be vision, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.